The poor maid thought no one saw her struggle. The billionaire saw her crying toddler first. The marble floors of the Ashford Tower gleamed under the early morning sun, reflecting the Chicago skyline in their polished surface. Maya Rodriguez moved through the executive floor with practiced silence, her cleaning cart wheels barely whispering against the expensive flooring. At 28, she had perfected the art of being invisible. That's what people wanted from housekeeping staff: efficiency without presence, cleanliness without disruption. Maya had learned this lesson well during her 2 years working for Sterling Properties Management. She arrived before the executives, left after they did, and in between, she existed in the margins of their extraordinary lives. But this morning, invisibility felt more like a burden than a skill. Maya's phone buzzed in her uniform pocket for the third time in 20 minutes. She didn't need to check it to know it was the daycare. Little Sophia was sick again. Another fever, another ear infection, another impossible choice between her daughter's needs and the job that barely kept them afloat. Her hands trembled slightly as she sprayed cleaner on the conference room windows. The Chicago skyline stretched before her, buildings that housed dreams she'd once had: college, a career, maybe even love that lasted. Now those dreams felt as distant as the horizon. "I'm sorry, Mija," she whispered to herself, thinking of 3-year-old Sophia's tear-streaked face that morning when Maya had dropped her at daycare despite her daughter's protests. "Mama has to work." The phone buzzed again. This time, Maya couldn't ignore it. "Ms. Rodriguez, Sophia's temperature is 101.5. You need to pick her up within the hour, or we'll have to call emergency services per policy." The daycare director's voice was sympathetic but firm. Maya's eyes burned with tears she couldn't afford to shed. "I understand. I'll be there as soon as I can." But how? She was only 3 hours into her 8-hour shift. Leaving early meant lost wages she desperately needed. The rent was already 2 weeks late. Sophia's antibiotics from last month still weren't paid for, and the electricity bill had a final notice stamped across it in angry red letters. She finished the conference room in a daze and pushed her cart toward the executive offices. Most were still empty at 7:30 a.m., which was why she preferred the shift. Fewer people meant fewer chances to be seen, to be reminded of how far she'd fallen from the bright college student she'd once been. Maya had made it halfway through her degree in early childhood education when everything fell apart. Her boyfriend, Sophia's father, had vanished the moment he saw the positive pregnancy test. Her mother, her only family, had passed away from cancer just months before Sophia was born. Student loans, medical bills, and then a newborn with chronic ear infections had buried her under a mountain of debt she couldn't climb. The degree remained unfinished, the dreams deferred indefinitely. She entered the corner office, the big one, belonging to Alexander Ashford himself. She'd never met the man who owned the building and half of downtown Chicago's premier real estate. The 33-year-old billionaire was a fixture in Chicago's business news, always photographed at charity galas and business conferences, impossibly handsome in expensive suits, surrounded by people who belonged in his stratosphere. The office reflected its owner's success: floor-to-ceiling windows, sleek furniture, and photographs of architectural achievements that had transformed Chicago's landscape. Maya felt smaller than usual in this space, surrounded by evidence of what ambition and opportunity could create. Her phone rang instead of buzzing. The daycare never called unless it was urgent. "Ms. Rodriguez, Sophia is very distressed. She's crying for you, and her fever has spiked to 102. We really need you here now." Maya pressed her hand over her mouth to muffle a sob. 20 minutes. Please, just 20 more minutes. She hung up and leaned against Mr. Ashford's desk, finally letting tears fall. What kind of mother was she? What kind of life was this, where she couldn't even comfort her sick baby without risking the roof over their heads? "God, please," she whispered into the empty office. "I'm trying so hard. Please just help me figure this out." She'd been praying the same prayer for 3 years, Since the moment Sophia entered the world 6 weeks premature, tiny and vulnerable, entirely dependent on a mother who had no idea how to hold everything together. But Maya had learned. She'd learned to survive on 4 hours of sleep, to stretch a dollar until it screamed, to smile through exhaustion and fear because Sophia needed to see strength, not desperation. Maya wiped her eyes and straightened her uniform. She'd clean this office, then tell her supervisor she had a family emergency. She'd probably be written up, might even lose the job, but Sophia came first. Sophia always came first. She was emptying the trash when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, confident footsteps that didn't belong to any of the usual early morning staff. Alexander Ashford appeared in the doorway, and Maya's heart sank. She'd been caught crying in the boss's office. He was taller than she'd imagined from the photographs, with dark hair slightly disheveled as if he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. His suit probably cost more than Maya made in 3 months, but it was his eyes that caught her attention, surprisingly kind, dark blue, and currently fixed on her with an intensity that made her want to disappear into the floor. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Ashford," Maya stammered, grabbing her cleaning supplies. "I was just finishing. I'll get out of your way." But Alexander wasn't looking at her anymore. His gaze had dropped to her phone, still clutched in her hand, the daycare's number visible on the screen. "Is everything all right?" His voice was deeper than she'd expected, but gentle, without the impatience she'd braced for. "Yes, sir. Everything's fine. I apologize for the disruption." The lie came automatically, the same lie she told everyone, coworkers, neighbors, the clerk at the grocery store when her car declined. "Everything's fine.
We're fine."
But Alexander's expression suggested he didn't believe her. Her phone rang again, and this time Sophia's wails were audible even without putting it on speaker. "Mama, Mama, come get me. I don't feel good, Mama, please." Maya's professional composure shattered. She answered, her voice breaking. "Baby, I'm coming. Mama's coming right now, okay? I promise." She hung up and looked at Alexander Ashford, billionaire, property mogul, a man who lived in a completely different universe, and saw something unexpected in his expression. Recognition. Not of her face, but of her desperation. "How old?" he asked quietly.
3.
"She's 3. Maya didn't know why she was still talking, why she wasn't running for the door. "I'm sorry, I have to go. I'll make up the time. I'll work a double shift this weekend. I just need to." "Go," Alexander said simply. "Go to your daughter." Maya didn't wait to be told twice. Maya's hands shook as she drove her 15-year-old Honda Civic through Chicago traffic, willing the lights to stay green, the cars to move faster. Sophia's daycare was only 4 miles away, but it felt like crossing an ocean. She'd grabbed her things from her locker without clocking out, without telling her supervisor, without thinking about anything except her baby's cries still echoing in her ears. The write-up would come later. The consequences would come later. Right now, only Sophia mattered. The Small Wonders daycare occupied the ground floor of a weathered building in a neighborhood where dreams came to die slowly. Maya had chosen it because it was affordable and close to her apartment, not because it was good. The staff meant well, but they were overworked and underpaid, watching too many children in rooms too small, counting down the hours until they could escape to their own struggles. Sophia was waiting in the director's office, curled in a chair that dwarfed her small frame, clutching the worn stuffed elephant Maya's mother had given her before she died. The moment Sophia saw her mother, she launched herself forward with a heartbreaking cry. "Mama." Maya caught her daughter and pressed her lips to Sophia's forehead. She was burning up. "I've got you, baby. Mama's got you now." Maya rocked her gently, feeling Sophia's little body shake with sobs and fever chills. "You said you'd stay with me," Sophia whimpered. "You said you wouldn't leave me when I'm sick." The accusation pierced Maya's heart because it was true. She'd promised that morning, desperate to calm Sophia's tears, knowing even as she said it that she was lying. What else was she supposed to do? Tell a 3-year-old that they couldn't afford for Mama to miss work? That keeping a roof over their heads meant breaking promises? I know, sweetheart. I'm sorry. But I'm here now, and I'm not leaving again today. The daycare director handed Maya a stack of incident reports to sign, and a reminder that this was the third early pickup this month. One more, and they'd have to reconsider their enrollment. Maya signed everything without reading, gathered Sophia's things, and carried her daughter to the car. Every movement felt weighted with failure. The pediatric clinic was next, another place where Maya was known too well. The receptionist's sympathetic smile had long since given way to poorly concealed judgment. Another missed appointment payment. Another payment plan. Another mother who couldn't quite hold it together. The doctor can see her in about an hour, the receptionist said, not meeting Maya's eyes. Maya settled into a plastic chair with Sophia in her lap, her daughter's hot face pressed against her neck. Around them, other parents scrolled through phones or chatted quietly. They looked tired, but not desperate. Their shoes weren't held together with super glue. Their coats didn't come from the donation bin at church. Maya closed her eyes and did the math she'd already done 100 times. After missing today's wages, she'd be $180 short for rent. The late fee would add another $75. The clinic would want at least $40 for the copay she couldn't afford from the last visit. The prescription would be another $35 if Sophia needed antibiotics again. She could skip the electricity payment, but they'd shut it off after a final notice. She could feed them both on rice and beans for 2 weeks, but Sophia needed proper nutrition. She could ask for an advance from work, but that assumed she still had a job after walking out. There was no equation that worked. Sophia stirred in her arms. "Mama, I'm cold." Maya wrapped her coat around them both, cocooning her daughter in the only warmth she could provide. "Better?" "Aha." Sophia's voice was small and scratchy. "Mama, why are you sad?" "I'm not sad, baby. I'm just tired." "You're always tired." Sophia looked up at her with eyes far too perceptive for 3 years old. "And you cry sometimes when you think I'm sleeping." Maya's throat tightened. She tried so hard to shield Sophia from their reality, to let her daughter have a childhood unburdened by adult worries. But children saw everything, didn't they? They absorbed their parents' stress like sponges, no matter how hard you tried to hide it. "Grown-ups cry sometimes," Maya said softly. "It doesn't mean anything's wrong." But everything was wrong, and they both knew it. The doctor confirmed another ear infection, the 5th since Sophia turned 2. He recommended tubes, a surgical procedure that insurance would only partially cover. The remaining cost would be around $2,500. Maya took the prescription for antibiotics and nodded at his advice, knowing she'd never be able to afford the surgery. They'd keep fighting these infections with medication until they either stopped happening or something worse developed. The pharmacy visit depleted the last $40 in her checking account. Maya walked out with the antibiotics and a balance of $3.17 between them and absolute zero. Back at their apartment, a studio in a building where the heat worked intermittently and the neighbors' fights rattled the walls, Maya gave Sophia the medicine and settled her on their shared bed. It was barely 3 p.m., but exhaustion pulled at Maya like a riptide. She checked her phone. 3 missed calls from work. A text from her supervisor. "Need to speak with you immediately." Maya sat on the edge of the bed, watching Sophia's chest rise and fall as her daughter drifted into feverish sleep and let herself imagine impossible things. A job that paid enough to live on. An apartment where Sophia could have her own room. A life where getting sick didn't trigger a financial catastrophe. She was so lost in these fantasies that she didn't hear the knock at first. When it came again, louder this time, Maya's first thought was the landlord. She wasn't supposed to be home during the day. He'd made it clear that the reduced rent was contingent on Maya not being a bother. But when she opened the door, Alexander Ashford stood in the hallway of her rundown apartment building, looking as out of place as a diamond in a dumpster. Maya's mind went blank. "Mr. Ashford? What are you? How did you?" "Your address is in the building employment records," he said, his expression unreadable. "May I come in?" Every instinct screamed no. This was her boss's boss's boss, a billionaire who owned half of Chicago, standing in a hallway that smelled like cigarettes and desperation. Her apartment was one room with a bathroom smaller than his office closet. She had nothing to offer him, no reason he should be here, and 1,000 reasons to be humiliated. But Sophia chose that moment to call out weakly, "Mama?" Maya's protective instincts overrode her embarrassment. She opened the door wider and stepped aside. Alexander entered, and Maya watched his eyes take in everything she tried to make invisible: the bed that served as couch and sleeping space for both of them, the kitchenette consisting of a hot plate and mini-fridge, the second-hand clothes drying on a rack in the corner, the toys that were sparse but clean, evidence of a childhood being lived in the margins. But his gaze settled on Sophia, tiny in the bed, clutching her elephant, watching him with fever-bright eyes and the wariness of a child who'd learned that strangers were rarely safe. Alexander did something unexpected. He knelt beside the bed, lowering himself to Sophia's level, making himself smaller, less threatening. "Hi there," he said gently. "My name is Alex. What's your name?" Sophia looked at Maya for permission. When Maya nodded, her daughter whispered, "Sophia. That's a beautiful name. How are you feeling, Sophia?" "My ear hurts." Sophia's lower lip trembled. "And I miss my grandma. She used to make me feel better when I was sick, but she's in heaven now." Something flickered across Alexander's face. Pain, recognition, memory. "I bet she was very special. She was the best." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "She died before I was big enough to remember good, but Mama tells me stories. Mama says she loved me so much." "I'm sure she did." Alexander's voice had roughened. "And I'm sure she'd be very proud of what a brave girl you are." Maya watched this surreal interaction, unable to reconcile the polished billionaire from the photographs with the man kneeling on her threadbare carpet, speaking to her daughter with genuine tenderness. Sophia yawned, her eyelids drooping. "Mr. Alex, are you Mama's friend?" Alexander glanced at Maya, a question in his eyes. Maya didn't know how to answer, so she said nothing. "I'd like to be," Alexander told Sophia, "if your mama will let me." Sophia considered this with the seriousness of childhood. "Okay, but you have to be nice to her. She cries sometimes." "Sophia," Maya said sharply, embarrassment flooding through her. But Alexander just nodded solemnly. "I promise to be very nice to her." Satisfied, Sophia closed her eyes and drifted back to sleep. Alexander stood, and in the tiny apartment, he seemed impossibly large. Maya crossed her arms, defensive and confused. "Why are you here?" The question came out more confrontational than she'd intended. "Because I saw something this morning that I couldn't ignore," Alexander said quietly. "A mother breaking apart because she had to choose between her child and survival. I know that pain, Ms. Rodriguez. I've lived it." Maya stared at him. "You're a billionaire."
Now.
"But I wasn't always." He gestured toward the small table that doubled as desk and dining space. "May I sit? I have a proposition for you." Maya's defenses went up immediately. She'd heard that word before, from men who assumed desperation made women available. Alexander seemed to read her expression because he quickly added, "A business proposition. Nothing inappropriate, I swear to you." Against her better judgment, Maya sat down across from him. "I'm listening." "I need a nanny for my nephew," Alexander began. "My sister passed away 4 months ago. She left behind a 4-year-old son, Ethan. I've been raising him, but the current nanny isn't working out. I need someone who understands what it means to truly love a child, to put them first no matter the cost. Someone with experience with young children, particularly ones who are grieving." Maya's heart ached at the mention of his sister. "I'm so sorry for your loss." "Thank you." Pain flashed across his features before he controlled it. "I saw your employee file. You were studying early childhood education before you had to leave school." "I never finished. Experience matters more than a degree, especially with a child who's been through trauma." Alexander leaned forward. "I'm offering you a live-in position. Your own quarters, with room for Sophia. Full benefits, including health insurance. A salary of $75,000 a year to start. Maya's world tilted. That was more than triple what she made cleaning offices. It was impossible. It was a dream. It was definitely too good to be true. Why me? She whispered. You could hire anyone. Someone with credentials, references, someone who sees children as a job instead of a calling? Alexander shook his head. This morning, I watched you receive a call about your sick daughter. I saw your face, Ms. Rodriguez. I saw a mother who would move mountains for her child. That's what Ethan needs. That's what I need. Maya looked at Sophia, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days, her little chest rising and falling steadily. She thought about the surgery Sophia needed, the debt that strangled them, the future that seemed to grow darker instead of brighter. She thought about all the reasons to say no. This was too sudden, too strange, too convenient. But mostly, she thought about Sophia's question. Why are you always sad, Mama? When would you need an answer? Maya asked. Take the night, Alexander said. But Ms. Rodriguez? I saw you this morning. I saw your pain, your love, your strength. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering you a job you're qualified for, helping a child who desperately needs someone like you. Let me help Sophia get the surgery she needs. Let me give you both a chance at something better. He stood and pulled a business card from his pocket, writing something on the back before handing it to her. My personal cell phone. Call me tomorrow with your decision. After he left, Maya sat in the quiet apartment, holding a business card that represented everything she dreamed of and everything she feared. Could she really trust this? Could she uproot their lives on the word of a stranger, even a powerful one? Sophia stirred and murmured in her sleep. Don't cry, Mama. Maya made her decision. The Ashford estate sat in Lincoln Park, behind gates that whispered of old money and new power. Maya drove through them 3 days later with Sophia strapped in the back seat, both of them stunned into silence by the sprawling mansion that appeared before them. Mama, is this a castle? Sophia pressed her face to the window, eyes wide with wonder. Sort of, baby. Maya's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles went white. This is where we're going to live now. Remember what I told you? We're going to help take care of a little boy who's very sad because his mama went to heaven. Sophia nodded solemnly. At 3, she understood heaven in the way children did, a place you went and didn't come back from, where people you loved became memories and empty spaces at the dinner table. Alexander met them at the door himself, dressed casually in jeans and a sweater that probably cost more than Maya's car. But it was the small boy hiding behind his legs that captured Maya's attention. Ethan Ashford had his mother's blonde hair and his uncle's blue eyes, currently filled with suspicion and poorly concealed grief. He clutched a stuffed lion that had seen better days, its mane matted and one ear missing. Ethan, this is Ms. Maya and her daughter Sophia, Alexander said gently, touching the boy's shoulder. They're going to be staying with us. Ethan said nothing, just stared at them with the wariness of a child who'd learned that people left. Sophia, unburdened by adult anxiety about first impressions, wriggled out of Maya's arms and approached Ethan with the directness of childhood.
Hi.
I'm Sophia. I'm 3.
How old are you?
4. Ethan whispered. That's big. Do you have toys? For the first time, something flickered in Ethan's expression. Not quite interest, but not quite rejection either.
Yeah.
Can I play with them? Ethan looked at Alexander, who nodded encouragement. If you want. Okay. Sophia held out her hand. Come on. You can show me. Ethan hesitated, then took Sophia's hand with his free one, still clutching the lion with the other. As the children disappeared down a hallway that seemed to stretch forever, Maya heard Sophia's cheerful voice. Why is your lion missing an ear? My elephant is old, too. His name is Peanut, because my grandma gave him to me. Alexander watched them go with an expression Maya couldn't quite read. Relief? Surprise? Hope? I wasn't sure how that would go, he admitted. Ethan hasn't spoken much since his mother died. Certainly not to strangers. Children recognize each other's pain, Maya said softly. They don't need words for it. Alexander looked at her then, really looked at her, and Maya felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with the difference in their circumstances. His gaze felt like it could see past her carefully maintained composure to the scared woman beneath. "Let me show you your quarters," he said, breaking the moment. The quarters turned out to be a two-bedroom suite on the second floor, larger than any apartment Maya had ever lived in. It had a small living area, a kitchenette, a bathroom with a tub instead of just a shower, and two bedrooms, one for her, one for Sophia. Maya stood in the middle of it, overwhelmed. "This is too much." "It's what the previous nanny had," Alexander said, but something in his tone suggested he was lying. "Ethan's room is just down the hall. Mine is on the third floor, but I'm up early and home late most days. I'll give you a schedule, though obviously things will be flexible given Ethan's needs." He handed her a folder containing details about Ethan's routine, his preferences, his triggers. Maya skimmed the pages, seeing between the lines. A boy who couldn't sleep without a nightlight, who cried for his mother when he thought no one could hear, who flinched at loud noises and unexpected changes. "His mother died in a car accident," Alexander said quietly. "She was driving to pick him up from preschool. He knows this. His therapist says he's processing it, but..." His voice broke slightly.
He's so young.
"Too young for this." "So are you," Maya said before she could stop herself. Alexander looked startled. "I'm 33. I mean, too young to lose your sister. Too young to become a parent overnight to a grieving child when you're grieving too." Maya met his eyes. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." "You're right." Alexander sat heavily on the couch, suddenly looking exhausted. "Jenna was my only sibling. Our parents died when I was 22, and she was 18. I raised her, put her through college, walked her down the aisle at her wedding. I was there when Ethan was born. I was supposed to be the fun uncle, not..." He gestured helplessly. "This." Maya understood that helpless gesture better than anyone. She'd made it herself 1,000 times. At the hospital when Sophia was born too early, at her mother's funeral, every time a bill came that she couldn't pay. The gesture of someone drowning who didn't know how to ask for help. "Ethan's father?" she asked gently. "Walked out when Ethan was 6 months old. Never came back, never paid child support, never even sent a birthday card." Anger sharpened Alexander's voice. When Jenna died, her lawyer couldn't even locate him to sign custody papers. Not that he would have wanted Ethan. He made it clear from the beginning that fatherhood wasn't part of his plan. Maya thought of Sophia's father, a college boyfriend who'd promised forever and delivered 6 months before vanishing like smoke. Some men, she'd learned, loved the idea of family more than the reality. "Sophia's father left too," she said. "The day I told him I was pregnant. I haven't heard from him since." Something passed between them, recognition, shared pain, the understanding of people who'd been abandoned by those who should have stayed. "We're quite a pair," Alexander said with a bitter laugh. "A billionaire and a single mother, both in over our heads, trying to raise children who deserve better than our broken pieces." "Our children don't get broken pieces," Maya said fiercely. "They get everything we have, everything we are. That's what loving them means." Alexander's expression softened. "I think I hired the right person." A crash from down the hall made them both jump. They rushed toward the sound to find the children in Ethan's playroom, a space larger than Maya's entire former apartment, filled with more toys than any child could play with in a lifetime. But Sophia and Ethan weren't playing with the expensive toys. They discovered a box of art supplies and had proceeded to create what appeared to be a mural on the floor using every marker, crayon, and paint they could find. Both children were covered in colors, grinning at each other with the uncomplicated joy of childhood mischief. "Look, Mama," Sophia announced proudly. "We're making a rainbow for Ethan's mama in heaven, so she knows we're thinking about her." Ethan nodded enthusiastically. Sophia said her grandma likes rainbows in heaven. Maybe they can share. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She'd been terrified about how Sophia would adjust to this massive change, to living with strangers in a place that looked like it belonged in a magazine instead of real life. But here was her daughter, making a grieving boy smile, finding connection in shared loss, creating beauty out of chaos. Alexander knelt beside the children, not caring that he was getting paint on his expensive jeans. "That's beautiful, guys. But maybe next time we use paper instead of the floor?" "Okay," they chorused, then went right back to their creation. Maya started to apologize, to offer to clean it up, but Alexander stopped her with a gentle touch on her arm. "Let them finish," he said quietly. "God knows this house could use more color, more life, more rainbows." They stood together, watching the children work, and Maya felt the first fragile thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, this could work. That night, after baths and dinner and bedtime stories, Maya tucked Sophia into her new bed, a real bed, not a mattress on the floor, with sheets that smelled like lavender and a comforter soft as clouds. "Mama, I like it here," Sophia whispered. "Ethan is sad like I was when Grandma died. I think we can be sad together, and maybe not feel so alone." Maya kissed her daughter's forehead. "I think you're right, baby. Mr. Alex is sad too," Sophia added with the perception of childhood that cut through adult pretense. "His eyes look like yours when you try not to cry." Maya thought about Alexander downstairs, probably in his study, probably working late because work was easier than grief, easier than facing an empty house that should have held his sister's laughter. "We're all a little sad," Maya agreed. "But maybe we can help each other be a little less sad."
Would you like that?
"Yeah." Sophia yawned, her eyes drifting closed. "I like helping people feel better." "That's what you do, Mama. You make people feel better even when you're sad too." After Sophia fell asleep, Maya checked on Ethan like Alexander had asked her to. The boy was still awake, staring at the ceiling, the worn lion clutched to his chest. "Can't sleep?" Maya asked softly from the doorway. Ethan shook his head. "I keep thinking Mama might call. She used to call me every night before bed when she worked late. But Uncle Alex says she can't call anymore because heaven doesn't have phones." Maya's heart cracked. She moved into the room and sat on the edge of Ethan's bed. "Your uncle is right that she can't call. But I bet she still wants to say goodnight to you."
How?
"Well, my mama is in heaven too. And I tell Sophia that Grandma sends her messages in special ways. Like when Sophia sees something beautiful, like a rainbow or a pretty flower, that's Grandma saying hello. When she feels warm and safe, that's Grandma giving her a hug. When she has a good dream, that's Grandma telling her a story." Ethan considered this seriously. "So, when I saw the rainbow me and Sophia made, that was Mama saying hello?" "Maybe," Maya said gently. "What do you think?" "I think." Ethan's voice trembled. "I think she liked it. I think she's glad I have a friend now who understands about missing someone." "I think you're absolutely right." Ethan was quiet for a moment, then asked in a small voice, "Will you stay?" "The other nannies always left. They said I was too difficult." Maya felt fury rise at the thought of anyone calling a grieving 4-year-old difficult. But she pushed it down and took Ethan's small hand in hers. "I'm staying. I promise. Sophia and I are here, and we're not going anywhere." "You promise? Like really truly promise?" "Really truly promise." Ethan finally closed his eyes, his breathing evening out as sleep claimed him. Maya sat there a while longer, watching this little boy who'd lost so much fine peace, however temporary. She found Alexander in his study as predicted, surrounded by papers and screens, working with the intensity of someone trying to outrun their thoughts. "Ethan's asleep," she reported. Alexander looked up, surprised. You got him down? The last nanny said it took hours. He needed someone to listen, not just someone to enforce bedtime. Maya hesitated, then added, He's terrified we'll leave like everyone else has. I know. Alexander ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I've tried to assure him, but I think he's afraid to trust anyone anymore. Can't say I blame him. It'll take time. But Mr. Ashford. Alexander.
Please.
Or Alex. Mr. Ashford makes me feel old. Alexander, Maya corrected. I want you to know that I meant what I told Ethan. Sophia and I aren't going anywhere. I know this arrangement is unconventional, and I know you could find someone more qualified, but... More qualified than a mother who understands grief? Than someone who looks at my nephew and sees a child who needs love instead of a problem to manage. Alexander shook his head. You're exactly what this house needs, Maya. What Ethan needs. What I... He stopped himself. Thank you. For being here. For staying. Maya nodded and turned to leave, but Alexander's voice stopped her.
Maya?
Sophia said something interesting at dinner. She said you make people feel better even when you're sad. Who makes you feel better? The question caught Maya off guard. She'd spent so long being the strong one, the caretaker, the one who held everything together, that she'd forgotten people could ask about her needs too. I manage, she said finally. That's not what I asked. Maya met his eyes and saw genuine concern there, not pity. I don't know how to answer that. I've been on my own for a long time. It's just been Sophia and me against the world. Well, Alexander said quietly, it doesn't have to be anymore. You're taking care of Ethan, but Maya? You matter too. Your needs matter. And if you ever need help with anything, I want you to tell me.
Can you do that?
Maya wanted to dismiss it as kind words from a kind man, nothing more. But something in Alexander's expression told her he meant it, that this wasn't just employer concern but something deeper, more personal. I can try, she said. It was the most honest thing she'd said in years. 6 weeks passed in a rhythm that felt almost like healing. Maya woke each morning to Sophia's laughter echoing through halls that had been too quiet for too long. She'd find the children already awake, playing elaborate games that involved Ethan's expensive toys being repurposed in ways their designers never intended. The designer wooden blocks became a castle for Sophia's elephant and Ethan's lion. The educational tablet sat forgotten while they built forts from couch cushions and blankets. Ethan talked now, not constantly, but enough. He asked questions about heaven and death with the directness of childhood that made adults uncomfortable, but that Maya answered honestly. He had nightmares still, nights when he'd wake crying for his mother, but Maya learned to comfort him, rocking him gently, humming the same songs she hummed to Sophia, letting him know he wasn't alone in his grief. And Alexander became a revelation. The distant billionaire from the photographs transformed into Alex, a man who came home earlier now, who played dinosaurs with the children before dinner, who listened to their stories with genuine interest. He'd roll up his sleeves and help with bath time, getting soaked when Ethan and Sophia decided a water fight was the perfect end to the day. He'd read bedtime stories with different voices for each character, making the children giggle even as their eyes grew heavy. Maya watched these transformations with a mixture of wonder and something more complicated, something that made her heart beat faster when Alex smiled at her over the children's heads, something that made her hyper-aware of his presence in any room. She tried to ignore it. He was her employer. This was a job. The fact that he was kind and handsome and good with children didn't change the enormous gap between their worlds. But ignoring it became harder when Alex started joining her for coffee after the children went to bed. It started accidentally. Maya had been reading in the kitchen when Alex came down for water and stayed to talk. Then it happened again the next night. And the next. Until it became routine, this quiet hour where they'd sit together and share pieces of themselves they'd kept hidden. I never wanted to run my father's company, Alex admitted one night, cradling his coffee mug. I wanted to be an architect. Design buildings, not just buy them. Maya looked at him with surprise. Why didn't you? Because Dad died, and someone had to take over. Jenna was too young, still in high school. I was the responsible one, the oldest, the one who stepped up. He smiled sadly. I was good at it, turns out. Good at making money, at seeing opportunities, at building an empire. But sometimes I look at blueprints for the buildings I acquire and think about the designs I never got to create. It's not too late, Maya said gently. You're 33, not 90, says the woman who put her own dreams on hold to raise her daughter alone. Alex gave her a knowing look. When do you get to finish your degree? When do you get to become the early childhood educator you studied to be? Maya had told him about her unfinished education during one of their late-night conversations, the dreams that had died when Sophia was born. That's different. I have responsibilities. So do I. But that doesn't mean the dreams stop calling, does it? Alex reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers without quite touching. We're both so good at sacrificing what we want for what others need. But Maya, who's looking after your dreams while you look after everyone else? The question haunted Maya long after she went to bed. The next morning, Alex made an announcement at breakfast. I have a surprise for everyone. We're going to the zoo today. The children erupted in excitement, but Maya hesitated. Don't you have work? I'm the boss. I can take a day off. Alex grinned, looking younger than she'd ever seen him. Besides, when was the last time any of us did something just for fun? Maya couldn't remember. Fun had been a luxury she couldn't afford for 3 years. The zoo was everything. Children's laughter, animals both majestic and silly, sunshine warming skin that had been cold for too long. Ethan held Maya's hand through the reptile house, brave because she was there. Sophia rode on Alex's shoulders, squealing with delight as she became the tallest person in the world. They ate overpriced hot dogs and didn't care. They took pictures in front of the penguin exhibit, the 4 of them squeezed together, smiling like a real family. Looking at those photos later, Maya's heart ached with wanting. They looked happy. They looked whole. They looked like they belonged together. But belonging required truth, and Maya had been holding on to secrets. That night, after the children were asleep and she and Alex settled into their usual coffee routine, Maya finally spoke what had been weighing on her. Sophia needs surgery, she said abruptly. For tubes in her ears. She's had 5 infections in 18 months. The doctor recommended it months ago, but I couldn't afford it. That's why I was crying that morning you found me in your office. The daycare had called because she was sick again and I was breaking apart because I couldn't fix it. Alex's expression shifted to concern. Why didn't you tell me? The health insurance I'm providing covers 80%. The remaining cost is still $2,500. I've been trying to save, but between paying off old debts and... Maya shook her head. I know you offered to help with the surgery when you hired me, but taking this job already felt like charity. I didn't want to ask for more. Maya, that wasn't charity. It was an offer from someone who understood what it meant to watch a child suffer and feel helpless. Alex leaned forward, his voice intense. Let me help.
Please.
Ethan adores Sophia. Hell, I adore Sophia. And you, he stopped himself. You've given us so much. Let me give something back. I can't keep taking from you. You've already given us a home, a salary, a life I never dreamed possible. You're not taking. You're accepting help from someone who cares about you and your daughter. There's a difference. Alex's hand covered hers on the table, warm and solid and real. I know you're used to carrying everything alone, but you don't have to anymore. I'm here. I want to help. Please let me. Maya felt tears threatening. When was the last time someone had offered help without expecting something in return? When was the last time she'd felt like she could share her burdens instead of carrying them alone? Okay, she whispered. Thank you. Alex's smile was brilliant and relieved. We'll schedule the surgery this week. the best pediatric ENT in Chicago. Sophia will have those tubes in no time. He didn't let go of her hand. Maya didn't pull away. The surgery happened on a Tuesday. Alex took the day off despite Maya's protests, and they sat together in the waiting room while Sophia was under anesthesia. Ethan was with a trusted friend of Alex's, a grandmother type who spoiled him with cookies and stories. "She'll be fine," Alex kept saying, though Maya suspected he was reassuring himself as much as her. "It's a routine procedure. 30 minutes, tops." But 30 minutes felt like 30 hours when your child was unconscious and vulnerable. Maya couldn't sit still, couldn't read the magazines Alex handed her, couldn't do anything but pace and pray and bargain with God the way parents had done since the beginning of time. When the surgeon finally came out with good news, everything went perfectly. Sophia was already waking up and asking for her mother. Maya burst into tears. Alex pulled her into his arms without hesitation, holding her while she shook with relief.
"See? I told you she'd be fine."
"Your daughter is tough, just like her mother." Maya pressed her face against his chest, feeling his heartbeat steady and strong. She knew she should pull away, that this was inappropriate, that she was crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed. But Alex's arms tightened around her, and he whispered against her hair, "I've got you. You don't have to be strong alone anymore." Something fundamental shifted between them in that moment. Sophia recovered beautifully. Within days, she was back to her energetic self, but without the constant ear pain that had plagued her. The change was remarkable. She slept better, smiled more, seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted. "Mama, Myers don't hurt anymore," she announced one morning. "I can hear everything's super good now." Maya watched her daughter play with Ethan, both children healthy and happy, and felt gratitude so intense it hurt. That evening, she found Alex in his study and did something she'd never done before. She initiated their coffee time instead of waiting for him to come find her.
"Thank you," she said simply.
"For Sophia's surgery, for caring about her, for caring about us. I don't know how to repay you." "You already have." Alex's gaze was warm, open. "You've brought life back to this house. You've helped Ethan heal in ways I couldn't. You've made me remember what it feels like to have family dinners and bedtime stories and someone to talk to at the end of hard days. That's worth more than money could ever measure." "Alex." Maya hesitated, then decided to be brave. "What are we doing here?" He knew exactly what she meant. "I don't know," he admitted. "I know what I want to be doing. But I'm your employer, and there's a power imbalance, and I would never want you to feel pressured or obligated." "What do you want to be doing?" Maya's heart hammered. Alex stood and moved toward her slowly, giving her time to stop him. But Maya didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't do anything but wait. He cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek. "I want to be falling in love with you."
"I think I already am."
"I think I have been since the moment I saw you in my office, breaking apart for your daughter, showing me what real love looks like."
"You're extraordinary, Maya."
"You're strong and kind and dedicated and so damn beautiful it makes me forget how to think sometimes." "I'm your employee," Maya whispered, but she didn't pull away. "Then don't be. Be my partner instead. In raising these children, in building a family, in creating something neither of us expected but both of us need." Alex's eyes searched hers. "I'm not asking for forever tonight. I'm asking if you feel this too. This pull between us. This sense that maybe we're both healing each other while we heal our children." Maya thought about all the reasons to say no. The differences in their backgrounds, the complications with their arrangement, the fear of trusting again after being abandoned. But she also thought about the way Alex played with Sophia and Ethan without caring that he was getting dirty. The way he'd held her in the hospital waiting room. The way he looked at her like she was precious instead of broken. "I feel it," she admitted. "God help me. I feel it too." Alex smiled, brilliant and hopeful. "Then let's see where this goes. Slowly.
Carefully.
No pressure. No expectations. Just two people who might be falling in love while raising two amazing kids who've been through too much. Can we try that? Maya nodded, and when Alex leaned down to kiss her, she rose to meet him halfway. The kiss was gentle, reverent, full of promise and possibility. It tasted like hope and second chances, like healing and new beginnings. When they finally pulled apart, Maya whispered, "The children can't know." "Not yet. Not until we're sure." "Agreed." Alex kissed her forehead.
But Maya?
"I'm already sure. I've been sure since I saw you crying in my office and recognized the kind of strength that only comes from loving someone more than yourself." Later, alone in her room, Maya looked at her sleeping daughter and thought about the impossible journey that had brought them here, from a studio apartment where they could barely survive to a mansion where they were learning to thrive. She thought about the crying toddler the billionaire had seen first, the moment of vulnerability that had changed everything. And she thought about trust, about risk, about the terrifying beauty of opening your heart after it had been broken. "Thank you, Mama," she whispered to the memory of her mother, "for teaching me to never give up, for showing me that love is worth fighting for." Sophia stirred and smiled in her sleep, and Maya knew, whatever came next, whatever challenges they'd face, they wouldn't face them alone anymore. They had each other. They had Alex and Ethan. They had family. And that made all the difference. 3 months later, Maya stood in the kitchen preparing breakfast while Ethan and Sophia argued cheerfully about whether dinosaurs or unicorns would win in a fight. The morning sun streamed through windows that overlooked a garden where the children had planted flowers for the mamas in heaven. She'd stopped being surprised by the life they'd built. It had become normal. This house, these routines, this family that had formed from broken pieces. What still surprised her was the depth of joy she felt. Alex appeared in the doorway, already dressed for work, but in no apparent hurry to leave. He did this now, lingered over breakfast, stole extra minutes with them before the demands of his empire called him away. "Something smells amazing," he said, moving to help her without being asked. They developed a rhythm, a partnership in the small domestic tasks that made up a life. "Pancakes." Sophia's request. Maya smiled as Alex's hand brushed hers while reaching for plates. They'd been careful around the children, keeping their growing relationship private, but these small touches had become their secret language. "Uncle Alex," Ethan called. "Tell Sophia that dinosaurs would totally win because they have big teeth." "But unicorns have magic," Sophia protested. "Magic always wins." Alex caught Maya's eye, both of them trying not to laugh. "How about they become friends instead?" he suggested diplomatically. The children considered this, then nodded and returned to their game. Crisis averted. "Nice save," Maya murmured. "I'm learning." Alex's voice was warm. "Though I still think the dinosaurs would win." They served breakfast as a team, and Maya marveled at how natural it felt. 6 months ago, she'd been alone and drowning. Now she was part of something bigger, something beautiful. After breakfast, Alex had to leave for a meeting, but he stopped in the doorway. "Don't forget, dinner reservations tonight at 7. My mother's friend is watching the kids." Maya's stomach fluttered with nerves and excitement. Their first real date, out in public, official. They'd been seeing each other for 3 months, stealing time after the children slept, learning each other's histories and hopes. But this felt different. This felt like declaring to the world what they meant to each other. "I haven't forgotten," she said softly. Alex's smile promised everything. The day passed in the usual chaos of 4-year-old and 3-year-old energy. But Maya kept thinking about the evening ahead, about the dress hanging in her closet that Alex had insisted on buying her. "You deserve beautiful things, Maya," about what this date represented. They were building towards something permanent. Maya felt it in the way Alex looked at her, the way he talked about the future with "we" instead of "I," the way he'd started asking her opinion on decisions about Ethan's education and the house renovations and his own career choices. She felt it in her own heart too, The certainty that this wasn't temporary, that she wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop, that maybe, miraculously, she'd found something real and lasting. At 6, Maya started getting ready while Mrs. Chun, Alex's trusted friend, entertained the children downstairs. She put on the dress, deep blue, elegant but not ostentatious, making her feel beautiful in a way she hadn't in years. Sophia appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. "Mama, you look like a princess." "Thank you, baby." Maya knelt to hug her daughter. "You'll be good for Mrs. Chin?" "Uh-huh." She said, "We can make cookies." Sophia paused, then asked with the perception that constantly surprised Maya, "Are you going on a date with Uncle Alex?" Maya's heart skipped. They'd been so careful. "What makes you ask that?" "Because you look at him the same way he looks at you. Like how people look in movies before they kiss." Sophia said this matter-of-factly. "It's okay, Mama. I like Uncle Alex. And Ethan says it would be nice if his uncle wasn't so lonely anymore." Out of the mouths of babes. "Would it bother you?" Maya asked carefully. "If Uncle Alex and I were more than just friends?" Sophia considered this seriously. "Would we still live here?" "Yes." "Would Uncle Alex be nice to you?" "Very nice." "Would we still be a family with Ethan?" "Always." Sophia nodded, satisfied. "Then it's okay. You deserve to be happy, Mama. You're always making everyone else happy. It's your turn." Maya pulled her daughter close, overwhelmed by the wisdom and generosity of this small person she'd created. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart," Sophia said with 3-year-old confidence. "You just cry less now than you used to. That's how I know Uncle Alex makes you happy." Alex arrived to pick her up looking devastating in a dark suit, and Maya saw his breath catch when he saw her. "You look incredible," he said, and the reverence in his voice made her believe it. In the car, Alex took her hand. "The kids know, don't they? Apparently we're not as subtle as we thought." Maya laughed. "Sophia gave us her blessing. She says I cry less now." Alex's grip tightened on her hand. "I want you to cry less. I want you to smile more. I want to give you reasons to be happy instead of just surviving." "You already have." The restaurant was elegant but intimate, the kind of place where conversations happened over candlelight and possibilities felt infinite. They talked easily, the way they did during their late-night kitchen conversations, but with the added electricity of being on an actual date, of acknowledging openly what they meant to each other. Over dessert, Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "I have something for you." Maya opened it to find a course catalog from Northwestern University and a letter confirming her acceptance into their early childhood education program to complete her bachelor's degree. "I didn't apply," she whispered, confused. "I did. With your permission, which I asked for months ago when I said I wanted to help you pursue your dreams, remember? You said you'd think about it." Alex's eyes were bright with hope. "I contacted your old school, got your transcripts, wrote the recommendation letter." "Maya, you have 42 credits that transfer. You're technically a junior. You could finish in 3 semesters, maybe 4 if you go part-time." "I can't afford." "Full scholarship for single parents. And I've arranged your schedule so you can take classes while Ethan's in preschool. Sophia will start preschool next fall, and your schedule will work around hers too." Alex leaned forward. "You've put your dreams on hold for 3 years. Let me help you chase them again." Maya's eyes filled with tears, the good kind, the grateful kind. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because I love you." Alex said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "I've loved you since the moment I saw you breaking apart for your daughter and putting yourself back together to take care of her. I love your strength and your kindness and your dedication. I love how you've healed my nephew and brought joy back to a house that had forgotten how to laugh. I love who I am when I'm with you. Not the billionaire or the CEO, just Alex, a man who's falling in love with an extraordinary woman." Maya couldn't speak past the emotion choking her throat. Alex continued, his voice thick with feeling. "I know it's fast. I know we come from different worlds. I know there's Sophia and Ethan to consider, and your future and my company, and 1,000 complications. But Maya, I don't care about any of that. I care about you. I care about the family we're building together. I care about waking up every morning knowing you're under my roof and going to sleep every night having heard your voice. I care about building a life with you if you'll let me. I love you too, Maya whispered. I've been trying to be practical and smart and remember all the reasons this was a bad idea. But I can't help it. I love you, Alex. I love your kindness and your patience and the way you play with the children like you're one of them. I love how you've given us a home and a future and a family. I love who I am when I'm with you. Not just a struggling single mother, but a woman with dreams and possibilities and someone who sees me as more than my circumstances. Alex stood and pulled her to her feet, not caring that they were in a restaurant, that people were watching. He kissed her deeply, thoroughly, a kiss that promised forever and meant it. When they finally pulled apart, Maya laughed through her tears. People are staring. Let them. Alex grinned. Let the whole world know I'm in love with you. They went home to find the children still awake despite the late hour, watching a movie with Mrs. Chen. The moment they walked in, Ethan and Sophia rushed to them. Did you have fun? Ethan asked eagerly. Did Uncle Alex tell you he loves you? Sophia added with no subtlety whatsoever. Alex and Maya looked at each other, then at the children, and Maya made a decision. They'd been trying to protect the kids by keeping their relationship private, but these children had seen too much loss, too much uncertainty. They deserved honesty. He did tell me, Maya said, kneeling to their level. And I told him I love him too.
How do you both feel about that?
Good, they chorused, then Ethan added shyly, Does this mean you're going to be a real family? We already are a real family, Alex said firmly, joining Maya on the floor. But yes, it means we want to make it official. If that's okay with you guys. Can we be brother and sister? Sophia asked Ethan. We already are, basically, Ethan replied. But yeah, for real would be cool. The children hugged each other, then launched themselves at Alex and Maya, creating a tangle of limbs and laughter on the living room floor. Mrs. Chen watched with tears in her eyes. I'll just see myself out, she said with a knowing smile. That night, after the children finally fell asleep, Maya and Alex stood in the doorway between Sophia's and Ethan's rooms, watching them sleep. I never thought I'd have this, Alex said quietly. A family. Children who love me not for my money, but just because I'm Uncle Alex. Someone to share my life with who sees past the empire to the person underneath. I never thought I'd have this either, Maya admitted. Security. Love. A partner who doesn't run when things get hard. A future that looks bright instead of terrifying. Alex pulled her close. We've both been through so much. You losing your mother and raising Sophia alone. Me losing my parents and then Jenna, suddenly responsible for a grieving child when I was grieving too. We've both known what it means to be broken. But we're not broken anymore, Maya said, turning in his arms to face him. We're healing. Together. Together, Alex agreed. He kissed her forehead. I want to do this right, Maya. I want to court you properly, meet whatever family you have, build a foundation that will last. I want to adopt Sophia if you'll let me, and give her my name and my protection, and everything I have. I want to marry you, not next week, but when we're both ready, when it's right for all of us. That sounds perfect, Maya whispered. But Alex? I don't need grand gestures or expensive things. I just need you. Your kindness, your love, your presence. That's worth more than anything money could buy. You'll have that, he promised. Every day for the rest of our lives. I swear it. 6 months later, on a crisp autumn morning, Maya walked across a small stage to receive her bachelor's degree in early childhood education. The ceremony was modest, but her cheering section was anything but. Alex, Sophia, and Ethan sat in the front row, holding a banner that read, "We're so proud of you, Mama." Sophia had insisted on calling her that now, with Alex's full support. He'd started adoption proceedings, and soon Sophia would legally be Sophia Rodriguez Ashford, with a father who chose her instead of abandoning her. After the ceremony, as they celebrated with lunch at Sophia's favorite restaurant, Maya reflected on the impossible journey that had brought them here. A year ago, she'd been crying in a billionaire's office, desperate and alone, sure she was invisible to everyone who mattered. But Alexander Ashford had seen her. More importantly, he'd seen her crying toddler first, had recognized in Sophia's pain an echo of his own nephew's grief, had understood that the real measure of a person wasn't their circumstances, but their capacity to love despite those circumstances. He'd offered her a job, but he'd given her so much more: a home, a family, a future, and a love she'd stopped believing existed. "What are you thinking about?" Alex asked, noticing her faraway expression. "How far we've come," Maya said softly. "A year ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I'd failed Sophia, failed myself, failed at everything that mattered. And now I know that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best things. If I hadn't been crying in your office that day, if you hadn't heard Sophia on the phone, if you hadn't taken a chance on a single mother with no credentials and a mountain of problems." Maya shook her head in wonder. "We wouldn't be here. I'd like to think we would have found each other somehow," Alex said, taking her hand. "Some people are meant to be in each other's lives. The universe just finds a way." "Uncle Alex, are you going to marry Mama now that she's done with school?" Ethan asked with typical childish directness. "Ethan," Maya blushed, but Alex just laughed. "I'm working on it, buddy. But these things take time to plan properly." "Don't take too long," Sophia advised seriously. "Mama's really pretty. Someone else might try to marry her first." The adults exchanged amused glances, but Alex's eyes held a promise.
Soon.
That night, after the children were asleep, Alex led Maya to the rooftop terrace of their home, a space they'd never used because Alex had been saving it for a special occasion. The terrace had been transformed into something magical: string lights, flowers, candles creating a warm glow against the Chicago skyline. "Alex, what?" He pulled her into his arms and started swaying gently, music playing from hidden speakers. "Dance with me." They moved together, fitting perfectly, two people who'd learned each other's rhythms through bedtime routines and kitchen conversations, and quiet moments stolen between the chaos of raising two children. "Maya Rodriguez," Alex said as they danced. "A year ago, I met a woman who was crying over her sick daughter, ready to sacrifice anything for the child she loved. I saw strength in that moment, not weakness. I saw love, not desperation. I saw someone who understood what truly mattered in life." "Alex, let me finish." He smiled, continuing to sway with her. "You came into my life when I needed you most, when Ethan needed you most. You brought light to a house that had forgotten how to be happy. You showed me what family really means, not blood or obligation, but choice and commitment, and showing up every day to love people through their pain and their joy." He stopped dancing and stepped back, then lowered himself to one knee. Maya's breath caught. "I'm not very good at this," Alex admitted, pulling out a ring box. "I've been practicing for weeks, but now that the moment's here, all I can think is how much I love you and how much I want to spend the rest of my life proving it. Maya, you make me want to be better, not more successful or wealthier, but kinder, more present, more aware of what truly matters. You've healed my nephew and my heart. You've shown me that family isn't something you're born into, it's something you build with people who see you, really see you, and love you anyway." Tears streamed down Maya's face as Alex opened the box to reveal a stunning ring, elegant but not ostentatious, perfect for her. "Will you marry me?" he asked simply. "Will you let me be Sophia's father and your husband and Ethan's uncle officially? Will you build a life with me, chase dreams with me, raise these amazing children with me? Will you be my family, my partner, my home?" Yes, Maya whispered, then louder. Yes. Yes to all of it. Alex slipped the ring on her finger and stood, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around. They were both laughing and crying, overwhelmed by joy and possibility. I love you, Maya said against his lips. I love you so much it terrifies me sometimes. I never thought I could have this, someone who stays, who sees all my broken pieces and doesn't run. Your broken pieces fit perfectly with mine, Alex said, kissing her deeply. We're building something beautiful from our pain. That's what love does. It transforms suffering into strength, loneliness into belonging. They held each other as the Chicago skyline glittered around them, two people who'd been brought together by circumstance and stayed together by choice. Behind them, unseen, two small faces pressed against the window, Ethan and Sophia, who'd been awakened by the music and had watched the entire proposal with the delighted conspiracy of children who'd known all along how this story would end. Told you Uncle Alex would marry her, Sophia whispered to Ethan. They're going to be so happy, Ethan whispered back. The children crept back to bed, satisfied that their family was complete. Downstairs, Maya and Alex continued to dance under the stars, planning a future neither had dared to dream of a year ago. A wedding, more children perhaps, a life built on love and second chances and the courage to trust again. Thank you, Maya said softly, for seeing me when I felt invisible, for hearing Sophia crying and choosing to care, for giving us a home when we had nowhere to go. Thank you, Alex countered, for taking a chance on a broken-hearted billionaire who didn't know how to be a father to his nephew, for bringing life and laughter and love into a house that had forgotten how, for showing me that the most valuable things in life can't be bought, they can only be built, one day at a time, with people who matter. They stood together, looking out at the city where they'd both struggled and survived and ultimately found each other. Behind them was pain and loss and hard lessons learned. Ahead of them was possibility. A wedding, children growing up together, dreams pursued and achieved, a love that would weather whatever storms came. But mostly, there was this moment. Two people who'd been broken finding wholeness in each other. Two children sleeping peacefully knowing they were safe and loved, and a family that had formed not from biology, but from choice and commitment and the simple, profound act of showing up for each other every single day. The poor maid thought no one saw her struggle, but the billionaire saw her crying toddler first. And in that moment of seeing, of truly seeing another person's pain and choosing to help rather than look away, everything changed. For both of them. Forever. 3 years later, Maya stood in the kitchen of their home, not the mansion in Lincoln Park anymore, but a slightly smaller house they'd bought together, one with a backyard big enough for the children to play and a neighborhood with other families and a feeling of community instead of isolated luxury. Alex had sold the mansion, donated most of his fortune to charitable foundations, and scaled back his business empire. He'd started an architecture firm, finally pursuing the dreams he deferred for responsibility. They weren't poor, far from it, but they'd chosen substance over image, meaning over money. Sophia was 6 now, healthy and thriving, excelling in first grade and proud to write her name as Sophia Rodriguez Ashford. Ethan was 7, still sometimes sad about his mother but healing more each day, especially now that he had a baby brother to dote on. Maya looked down at the infant in her arms, James Alexander Ashford, 3 months old, the physical manifestation of the love she and Alex had built. Alex appeared in the doorway, fresh from dropping the older kids at school, and his face softened at the sight of his wife holding their son. "How's our boy?" he asked, kissing Maya's temple. "Perfect. Just like his siblings." Maya smiled as Alex wrapped his arms around them both. This was their life now, messy and chaotic and beautiful. Maya taught early childhood education at a community center, working with families struggling the way she once had, offering hope and practical support because she remembered what it felt like to have neither. Alex designed buildings that served communities instead of just making money, creating affordable housing and community centers and spaces where people could gather and thrive. They'd found purpose beyond survival, meaning beyond accumulation. But most importantly, they'd found each other. Do you ever miss it? Maya asked quietly. The wealth, the power, the prestige? Alex looked around their modest kitchen, yesterday's breakfast dishes still in the sink, Sophia's artwork covering the refrigerator, Ethan's science project spread across the table, evidence of a life being lived rather than curated. Not even for a second, he said honestly. I have everything that matters right here. You are children a life with meaning. The rest was just noise. Maya kissed him, this man who'd seen her at her lowest and loved her to her highest, who'd chosen family over fortune and presence over prestige. I love you, she said simply. I love you too. Always. Outside, children's laughter echoed from a neighboring yard. The sun streamed through windows that needed cleaning. A baby cooed contentedly in his mother's arms. A family gathered in a kitchen where love mattered more than marble floors. And Maya Rodriguez Ashford, who'd once thought she was invisible, finally understood what it meant to be truly seen, truly valued, truly home.
The end.